Good morning, men. It's January 10th, and so we turn to the book of Proverbs, chapter 10, for God's daily dose of wisdom. And I was reading through the 10th chapter of Proverbs, verse 25, jumped off the page, and it reads like this. When the whirlwind passes, the wicked is no more, but the righteous have an everlasting foundation. And I read that, and my mind immediately went to the Sermon on the Mount. And there in chapter 7 of the book of Matthew, Jesus is wrapping up the Sermon on the Mount. He's said some radical things in his day. They were very radical. But then at the very end of the Sermon on the Mount, he says these words. And this is out of Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. He said, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them may be compared to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and slammed against that house. And yet it did not fall, for it had been founded on the rock. Everyone who hears these words of mine and does not act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and slammed against that house. And it fell, and great was its fall. You know, interesting, he contrasts two men, one who heard the words and acted, and one who heard the words and didn't act. They both heard. Interesting also that same situation happened. Rain fell, floods came, winds blew, slammed against that house. You know, we all recognize that's a metaphor for the difficult times that happen in our lives. And quite frankly, he didn't say if the rains came. He said when the rains came. Difficult times are coming. For many of us, difficult times have already come. And it's only the foundation upon which we stand that determines whether or not we are going to stand or fall. It's going to determine whether or not our lives are going to stand up to the difficulties that the world throws at us, that life throws at us, or whether or not we're going to succumb to those difficulties and our life is going to become a shambles. And the difference, the one difference, was the person who acted upon Jesus' words. Men, what kind of foundation are we building on? Are we hearing the words of Jesus and not acting upon them? Because if we are, then we are building our house on the sand. It's only when we act upon the words of Jesus that we begin to live out the truths that he has spoken to us. And we incorporate those truths into our lives in such a way that our lives become unshakable. If we just hear the words of God, if we just listen to the words of Jesus, but we don't actually act upon them, we're fooling ourselves. And we're building our house on the sand. That's what Jesus says. So when the whirlwind passes, the wicked are no more. But the righteous have an everlasting foundation. I pray that our foundation is one that is everlasting, that we hear the words of Jesus and we act upon them. I love you, my brothers. Go out and make a difference in someone's life today. God bless you.